I know the cruelties of slavery, how you have to show one face and hide another. Did you hear what he said to me, Isaac? Did you hear what he called me, that pompous, bloated, overindulgent fool of a congressman? He called me a fool simply because I spilled soup into his lap. Well, he deserved it. Talking about the Declaration of Independence. All men are created equal, he says. All men. What of the women? What of the Negro slaves, someone asked. And he looks and said, what should we ask that Negro about freedom? I might as well ask that table or that chair about ideas of freedom. I'd like to see that chair serve him his soup. I know, Isaac. I know I should keep my voice down and mask my passions. It would be no good for them to know that I even have a thought in my mind. But what does he know of slavery, Isaac? What does he know? It is the men like him who cry the loudest that they shall not be slaves of England. Yet what does he know about being torn from your mother's breast or taken away from your father's kindness? What does he know about the cruelty of slavery? Even you and I, Isaac, we've been married these 20 years as husband and wife. Yet there are those who won't even acknowledge that we can be married. While working for General Washington, it's the first time that we have been allowed to save and stay in the same house under the same roof. Yes, I know there are those who are kind and indulgent, I know. Reverend Mason has seen to it that as I work for General Washington, Reverend Mason, that kind and indulgent man, has made it so that the money that he is paid for me, for my hire by General Washington, some of it is set aside, 40 shillings a month, one coin at a time, so that I may earn my freedom. 40 shillings a month, so that I may someday be free. 40 shillings a month, so that I can own my own body. Own my own body, Isaac. And so, as Peggy has said, that I should look towards freedom. She calculates that 2.5 years at 40 shillings a month, I shall be free. But what of the others, Isaac? The other bondsmen, the other bondswomen, what of them? We have them in our army as well. They are taking up arms to fight for this country's freedom. They have taken up those arms and have not turned them against their masters, but have turned them against the enemy of their masters. And they have fought hard. I have seen it, you have seen it, His Excellency has seen it. They have seen how hard those men fight. And they've seen that they fight hard and that they bleed just as red as the white soldiers. Aren't they deserving of their freedom? They fight, Isaac, they fight for the cause of freeing this nation. They fight for the same hopes and dreams as everyone else. We hope for our freedoms. We hope for our liberty. And as the psalmist says, hope deferred maketh the heart sick. But when the dream comes, it is as the tree of life, and we will rejoice. So yes, Isaac, I will do as you say. I will keep up my mask. And I will continue to hope. And I will continue to dream. And I will be free.
In 1780, 2 years after the Valley Forge encampment, Hannah purchased her freedom and named herself Hannah Till. By 1784, she and her husband Isaac were living as free blacks in a home in Philadelphia and working for themselves as cooks. At the time of her death, in 1825, she was 104 and still lived in that same home. It is unknown whether Isaac and Hannah had children, as those records were not commonly kept for African Americans at that time. And now for a final word, here's Agena Rogers.
I became interested in Hannah Till because I was researching about William Lee, who worked for General Washington, who was his body servant, and a slave from Mount Vernon. And I started getting interested in all the other people who were around them, such as Peggy, who was the laundress, a free black woman. And I found out about Hannah and Isaac, too. And it turned out that Hannah was a fascinating person. She had been she was a slave who was hired by Washington to serve as cook for him. She serves him 6.5 years and 6 months for Lafayette. And also she lived to be 104 years old, actually. And she's interviewed when she was 102 years old. And so just that made me wonder, what was her life like? And as I started to dig more and more and get information from other people who had looked into her life before, this character started to build. This person, she became a person, not just a name in a book, not just servant Hannah or Negro Hannah or even Hannah Till. She became more and more a person with hopes and life and dreams, just like any of us. And so I started looking and searching so that I could bring her to life, to give her a voice, because people like Hannah, who didn't write their memoirs, who weren't able to speak, needed a voice. And so that's why I've worked so hard these past 9 years to bring her story to life. And I feel very honored and privileged to be able to do that, to be able to speak for someone who wasn't allowed to speak back when they were alive.